So, did you know these things? The chat is different. If you didn't know that, then when you started, the chat keeps going. Even if our streaming stops, the chat continues. That allows us at the studio to tell you what's happened and if we're coming back or not. All these things.
Okay, so what I want to tell those of you who are new members, you may not be aware that you have a place where you can ask a question. And Lee and I love answering those questions. We spend some time at the beginning of each Healing Wednesday show to go through those. You can find those in your members portal. Very easy. It's a tab that you just click on called Submit Your Questions. But you can also go to cryonmasters.com/questions. Now here's the kind of rules that Lee and I like to put in when you're asking a question. Number one, ask a question that you think others might be interested in. We ask you not to ask the really deep down and gritty personal questions, like what do I do about this exact situation? And make those questions concise and short so that we can spend the time to go through them. So we're going to now move to the questions for this segment. And the first one comes from William. William is from Glasgow in Scotland. Hey, how you going, William? So glad that you're joining us from Scotland. William's asking, in the Circle of 12, who are all the ascended masters and what are their names? I only know two, Jesus and Ashtar, to sit for healing with the 12 chairs. Lee, I just learnt a new master name, Ashtar. I hadn't heard of that one.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you, William. I've learned another one.
And again, thank you, William, for the question. I want to apologize to you, William, and many of the members for not being a little clearer and more concise and also directing you to where the answer is. This is difficult to tell you, but there are no chairs. There are no masters. So what is the Circle of 12? This Circle of 12 was given to me, and hold the phrase of it and the meaning of it and all by Kryon some time ago when we started. And basically, the Circle of 12 is a metaphor for the universe and the structure of the universe. Now, rather than me telling you all about this and giving you information, really, there is a full explanation in your portal. So if you'd like to go to your portal and look for what is the Circle of 12, it's me, and I'm going to give you the ABCs of it and the 1, 2, 3s of it and even some examples of what that structure is of the universe, basically groups of fours, that really tells so much about the 12. And I don't know how many hundreds and hundreds of times the 12s are mentioned in Scripture and all. So it's about the structure of spirituality in general. That's the Circle of 12. And what it truly means is that we're surrounded by all of the souls, by the creative source, by the influence of the 4s and the 12s and the structure. It's us sitting in a very profound place instead of being with 12 masters surrounding you. So it's in the portal. And again, I invite you to take a look. And I apologize to you and the members that I haven't mentioned this earlier. It's there.
However, I do want to point out, Lee, that one of the beautiful things that Kryon guides us through the Circle of 12 meditations is it's all about you and touching your soul. And the scenario tends to be repeated, where you cross the bridge from the known to the unknown. You enter a theatre, and in that theatre you go onto a stage, you sit in a chair, and it's a theatre in the round, and you are surrounded by an audience. And the audience members are what changes. Mm-hmm. And there was a beautiful meditation, you can find it in your index, where Kryon invited masters to sit in 12. You made up chair number 12, and around you were 11 masters. And this was such a beautiful and powerful session to experience. And this is, I think, maybe where William's question came from.
Well, it's just close.
Was asking, I only know 2 masters,
Yeah.
so maybe he had all these empty chairs.
I think
don't
William
know.
is with so many people who just assume that the circle of 12 will be 12 masters,
Could
and we
be.
sit there in a circle, and and that's why I apologize that I didn't really mention it, the full definition until now.
But it could be that episode he's talking about
That's
as
true.
well. So
That's right.
I guess my 2 cents worth that I want to throw is that this may be a great opportunity for you, William, to go and learn about some of the masters that other people have found. And there's no right or wrong. It's this one and not that one. It's what resonates to you. It's what synchronicity brings to you. So through your life, you have synchronistically found Jesus and Ashtar. And now I have never heard of Ashtar, so I'm going to go and look it up and to find out more. But there are many humans that have been on the planet and have demonstrated what is possible. And so this is the invitation, William, for you to go and find some of those for you through synchronicity. Paramahansa Yogananda, go have a look at what he has done. Any other ones you want to mention?
Oh, I've got a lot.
Yeah?
But I'm not going to mention them because somebody will say, well, you didn't mention this one. So I can get into that. Oh, there's some profound masters on this planet.
There are. So anyway, let's move to the next question. And this comes from Gail. Gail is from Maine in the US. And she's asking, is it normal to feel that you have found love for yourself and source and to feel the peace, and then the next day feel that you cannot find it again? I think that's a really normal question, Gail, and I have a feeling that she's not the only one that has that experience.
Gail, thank you for asking something that most people wouldn't ask, I think, because they say, well, it's too simple, but I'm experiencing it. Kryon has spoken of, in the past, a mountaintop experience. In fact, we used to do this quite a bit, and we would take people up to various places. I remember in Chile, the Valle Nevado experiences on a mountaintop. We've had many times where we take a group of people for a week up the mountain and all. And when you come down, you go, I'm not feeling it. Just, what happened? And it's also true for simply like these meetings. You go to a place where you feel so good and it's a high. And then you go to sleep and you get up the next morning and it's normal. And then you've got, you got work or the kids or the partners or whatever. And all of the issues are there, and it kind of beats you up. And that is so normal. I have it. I think we all have it. Here's the answer to your question. Yes, it's normal. So don't feel that you're unusual because you have that. And why does it happen? What do you do about it? Solutions. We're always into solutions. This is what everything is about. Can you find that high, or even a semblance of it, or a part of it, even in the midst of the normalcy that we have? Can you find it in regular everyday life? And the answer is yes. The high points are the high points. And it's that way when you're listening to great music and you come down from it, or any other things that are so beautiful and you come down from it. That's to be expected. But you don't have to go all the way down. And that love for yourself that you talked about, that is what we're all trying to do. And that is to stay in that place where you truly feel something and you say, well, it's not as good as it was in the circle of 12, but it's still pretty good. And so that's what I'm telling you. And that is that don't beat yourself up. This is very, very normal, and we all work that puzzle.
That's a great response,
Yeah.
Lee. And I want to mention that one of the channelers that Lee and I have worked with for many years and has actually been on this show in the healing modalities, Marilyn Harper with Adironda. And one of the answers I remember Adironda sharing is that we get the chance to have contrast. And when we experience a contrast, that's how do you know that this is joy when you don't have, if you're always joyful, you can't compare it to not being joyful. So it's the contrast that gives us the experience. And hey, being from Australia, I have a bad kind of joke to share.
You're
But
going to share a joke?
well,
Okay.
it's the
Sorry.
thing. I'm talking about contrast.
Okay.
It's like, well, I didn't know my husband had a drinking problem till he came home sober. So, so it's that thing of the. I know, bad joke,
You know this
right?
is live broadcast, don't you?
It's a bad joke, but the point is the contrast of it. And what I want you to focus on is that you had the experience. You felt love. You felt peace. So you know absolutely you can do it again. And as Lee said, it is normal to go through feeling it and not feeling it, and feeling it and not feeling it. So the point of focus here is recognize where life is filled with contrast, and that if you've felt it, even that one time, you know you can do it again. And that applies to healing as well. If you have felt health at least one small time, you know you can do that
That's
again.
true. That is the model that you think about.
And we know in
Anybody
our,
who's been sick knows this.
Yes.
Is that the things that you had and took for granted, and you're really trying to get that. I want to say that there's a quickie question from Australia, a very sweet question, and I know that we don't have a whole lot of time for that, but can we do that one anyway?
Sure. You're in control of this show, so
I
we
am
can
in control of the time.
we can do
I'm in
what we
control of the
like.
vertical and the horizontal.
Audrey from Melbourne, Australia, she was asking or stating that she's been a member of the Circle of 12 since the beginning. She says, I have a condition. I sought healing for all these months, but it seems that nothing has changed. I am nearly 80 years old, and my condition could very well be related to old age. And besides, I could be at the end of my lifespan. Would this be a valid reason for not getting results? And I would love to hear your comments on this. And this is what I love. I love you, Audrey, because you follow that question up by saying, however, no matter what, I continue to live.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, members, to the Healing Wednesday Circle of 12. I'm Lee Carroll.
I'm Monica Morani.
A special welcome to those joining us for the first time. I say that a lot, but there are always those joining us for the first time. Healing Wednesdays, how would you define what happens here? Sometimes it's difficult, but I can tell you what happens literally. We come together every single week of the year with special guests. We're going to have a very special guest today, of course. Questions and answers, we'll have some of those coming up. Discussions, meditations, and of course, channeling by Kryon. Well, this is a members meeting. It's different from the once-a-month free meetings. Members, I'm so glad you're with us. Did you know, maybe you didn't, especially if you're first time, there is an audio-only version of every single show. We did this by request for some of those of you in remote places of the planet who are having trouble actually getting any video, even the replays. They said, please make us an audio. Every single one we have, there's an audio. There's an index of every show that we have done and will continue to do. Monica has made those possible.
Yeah.
She is our archivist, and eventually we'll have an archive of every single channel Kryon has ever done available online. But this index is for Healing Wednesdays. And the index built by you, description of every single channel, every single Circle of 12, who the guests were, basically what happened, and it's every single date. So you can go find things that may be interesting for you that you haven't seen and know where to go to get them. Did I say that? Did I say it right?
You did. There's a whole library of replays. And for some of you, you'll have favorites and you'll want to hear those again and again and again. And so you can find where that is on that index.
There's more things in your portal. And then, of course, for those of us who don't know, those who love the music, it's proprietary music, so we can't just publish it. You can't go out and buy it, but you can get in the portal and you can listen to it there. All just the music for you to meditate to. And I'm quite sure as we go, there'll be more. If you're having trouble with this streaming, just don't be frustrated. Eventually, you can stop and watch the replay. If it's just too hard, and it changes from time to time. Just when you think you got it fine and your internet's good and all that and your Wi-Fi is steady, then something happens. And we understand this. It also happens from the studio. And so most of you are aware by now, but if you're for the first time, you may not be. We have a new chat system. And that particular chat system is new to us. It's been around for a long time. We actually used it last year, but something happened and we now return to it, where the chat is independent from the stream. And that means that if something happens to the stream and it goes dark, the chat remains. So our studio can get online with you, tell you what's going on, and if we're coming back or not, or whether it's, it's just a hiccup. Anyway, that is new, and we continue to work the puzzle to try to make a good experience as much as we can. But if you're frustrated, please come back. Replays about an hour and a half after the show. They're good. They don't have the same power to your browser that a stream would, so it's much easier to have a work. Well, we have gone to doing questions and answers, I think, the last 20 or 30 shows. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to do that today. And Monica, would you tell them about a little Q&A here?
Yeah, you can find in your portal how you can submit a question. You can also go to cryonmasters.com/questions. Very easy. Ask a question that others may be interested in. We also want to let you know we prefer not to have personal questions like what to do about my mother. Make them concise and short, and make sure there's actually a question in there. No long stories, no long personal dramas. But we all benefit from having the questions. And we're going to have our first question, which comes from Danielle in Singapore. And she is asking, as a Reiki practitioner, how can we heal and help others without taking their karma? That's an interesting question, Lee.
I like it. I like it because it tells me that there's a lot of information yet to those who are listening that they haven't seen in the books. And so I'm here to refresh that. There's really two sections to that. The first is this. We are in an energy, especially if you are using something like Reiki, any of these processes where you're dealing with a human being who may perhaps be out of balance, you never know, especially for those who are standing over them instead of even in long distance. That's a good question. How can I keep from perhaps taking their karma or even receiving their unbalance? And this is a question we've answered before in another way. It's in the Kryon books, it's in the channeling, and that is this. In this new energy, we are not, don't worry about that, because you have now I would say it's even more profound than what we call the Merkaba. There is an energy bubble around you as a light worker that is so profound that nothing is going to get through. This is why we've even said we've stopped clearing, even Monica and I. We've stopped the process of clearing when we go to hotel rooms and all that, because Kryon says this is now so strong. This new energy for all of us that I would say anything negative is pushed away wherever you walk. So in that, you're not going to take their karma. I guarantee you're not going to take their karma. And if you're concerned about it, just give a statement before you work on them, and just say, "Let all things be benevolent for me." And it's a statement that says, "Don't worry about it." That is very, very real, and I'm not going to go any further because we want to get to other questions. But there's a second part to this. Karma in general. Can I say it again? Kryon said, and this was in book number 1, I believe, 1 or 2, that he said that you and this new energy, as we evolve, as we get closer to spirit, and there's more of an ascension, I would say, feeling to this energy, you can drop your karma. We have no reason for this ancient system anymore. Karma has been with us for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It's part of ancient systems. It's very valid. Everybody understands about this, but we've reached a place now where you can drop it, and you can drop it simply by claiming you can drop it. Some have said, Lee, that's not right. You can't rewrite history and say, okay, now we're going to drop our karma. It's not this. I'm not rewriting history. I would like to, if you interview, for instance, a Hindu who has gone through the process of an ascended, whatever in their religion would put them at a place that's higher than they were before, they will say, I went through a process and dropped my karma. And whether they went to Varanasi for that or bathed in the Ganges for that or whatever, they have a process for dropping karma. So this is not new. So what I'm going to tell you is now it's almost automatic. Don't worry about it. You don't have to slog through this karmic energy this lifetime. Kryon very early on says, give intent to drop it. Let's be done with that and move on to some of the other things that are far more, I would say, important to the planet than taking care of an old karmic attribute. Does that make clear?
It's very clear.
I know I said that very fast.
You did.
But I wanted her to know, and I wanted everybody to know.
Yes, very good. So we have Gordana from Germany, or it could be Jordana actually, Jordana from Germany, asking, how can we access and use the abilities and skills that we have from our own Akash? How do we use it from our previous lives in our present life? So Jordana essentially is asking about mining the Akash. And I know, Lee, you have talked about mining the Akash many times.
It is. It is I would say, a term of our new age. It's a term of the new energy. It came from Kryon, but I know that at the same time Kryon was talking about it, it was being observed, absorbed, and practiced by others on the planet. These things come naturally. Is it possible to take attributes from your Akash, good ones, and paste them upon yourself in this lifetime, including good health? And the answer is yes. There are channels about it. There's all manner of information that Kryon has given about mining your Akash. But more, we can offer you some information that has happened even on Healing Wednesdays.
Yes, indeed. There are many practitioners and healing modalities focusing on that very thing. So that's a great question. And I would encourage you to go and listen to the replay that we did with a practitioner by the name of Jenny Johnson. And she developed a modality. Listen to this title: EFT, Quantum Mining the Akash. So she's doing an emotional freedom tapping technique that focuses on going in, finding those hidden skills in the Akash and bringing them forward. Now, Jenny was a guest on one of our Healing Wednesday programs back in November 18, 2021. So you can go and listen to her episode again. And also, Jenny has many YouTube videos going through these kinds of processes.